What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about collector's editions and what's going on with Death Stranding 2. Now, look, here's the thing. I want to make this very, very clear from the jump. I'm very excited for Death Stranding 2. I'm getting the game day one. Might be a little hypocritical based off everything else I'm going to say, but just want to make that clear. It's not so much about Death Stranding 2, although we're going to look at this collector's edition as a good case study. It's the industry. It's how things are going. I've talked a lot about this in terms of game preservation and physical games, digital games. This is another kind of weird part to it. I feel like it doesn't get, because you have like the arguments of physical preservation, all that stuff, and that's a little bit more like at the center or the front of the line, probably because more people do that than buy collector's editions, right? This is a niche thing. This is things that are very expensive, and I just feel like because of that, you have less people and you just have less care when it feels like the quality is starting to go down a little bit. So look, I mean, there's a couple of things to talk about with collector's editions. One thing that's not even, a situation with Death Stranding that I've noticed, for the last little while is the pricing. Honestly, the pricing. Now, look, there's always like statues that are thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars. There's always going to be weird pricing, but we've seen it here and there where I do think companies think that they can go above and beyond with the pricing of a collector's edition versus what's actually in the thing. I don't know if there was a worse example, funny enough, with the game that I talk about all the time, with Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy was a thing that should not have cost as much as it did for the collector's edition, and yet that's what happened. It was outrageously priced, and I feel like that happens quite often, but here's the deal, right? To make it, about the issue at hand here, it's about what's offered, and what's offered is continuing to get less and less, and they're starting to short people on certain aspects of things. So let's talk about that gaming preservation, the physical thing, because this is not new. This is something I want to make very clear. This is something that Death Stranding 2 is doing, so it is not like immune to criticism with it, but they did not start this trend. This is something that Xbox has definitely pushed for, non-game preservation, even though they talk about it all the time. PlayStation has done some pretty, not great things with collector's editions, going back in the past. You can go to Horizon, you can go to God of War, you can go to Spider-Man. There's actually a really nice post that kind of illustrates this, where, we've seen the physical editions of these games being removed from collector's editions. And I'll just say it plainly, okay? I know I like to dance around certain things, but let me just say this straight up. The physical game needs to be included with collector's editions. Point blank, it stops right there. The people that argue, even for there should be two types of collector's editions, one that's physical, one that's digital. No, I will draw a hard line in the sand and say, you want me to get aggressive? You want me to actually take a stance? For those couple people that always say that, I'll take a stance right now. No. You give me a physical edition and this goes back to everything we already just talked about, right? When you are spending $200, $300, $400, $500 freaking dollars on collector's editions of games, you need to at least provide the game itself, because it all connects. You don't actually own that game. Maybe, people don't always love to hear that thing, but at the end of the day, really all of us are renting these games. Borrowing the license is another way of wording it if you feel like that's a little bit better, but that's what we do generally, 80% of the time, all of us that buy, digital things, which is the majority of gamers. So when you go out of your way to get physical collector's editions with statues and paraphernalia and just all sorts of, with Death Stranding, you get like keychains and other things. When you go out of your way to get literal physical decorations, okay, it should also come with the physical game. So this is, again, not something that Death Stranding 2 started. This is something that started like 2-3 years ago. And I think God of War was a really big example, I think, at the time that people really started calling it out, but nothing was obviously done because it continues to happen. You get like a steel book. Now, the thing with Death Stranding that actually makes it somewhat worse, and again, I want to support Death Stranding. I'm going to. I think a lot of the stuff they're giving in the collector's edition is pretty cool. It's really what they're not giving in the collector's edition. And I didn't even notice this. When they first showed it, I think I talked positively about it. There's not even a steel book. There's not even like a steel book case. So you go back to Spider-Man, you go back to God of War, and maybe even Horizon, and you can look at, what all these collector's editions offer you. And all of them offer you the steelbook case. It's actually what made people mad in the first place, right? Because you get this really cool steelbook, and, normally, like I have the Uncharted 4 one. I have the collector's edition for Uncharted 4. When you open the steelbook, you have the game inside it, right? The physical disc. And, that was a thing for a long time. when God of War and all these other games, they still give you the Steelbook, but when you open it, it's the digital download code, right? So again, that wasn't new. That's not new, okay? But it's something that made people mad, and I think rightly so. Well, now you have Death Stranding 2. There's not even there's a box. It's actually, you can see it right here, maybe. Now, I don't know what comes in. It says collector's box. You have a figurine. You have a statue. You have a letter from Hideo Kojima. Those are all cool things. And again, like, it's not necessarily what they're giving you that's the problem. It's what they're not giving you. And I don't know what's inside that box, but you look at all the graphics, like the images of the other ones, God of War, Spider-Man as two good examples. Right there, right on the promotion of what you get with the game, with the collector's edition, I should say, right? You get a Steelbook. Now, again, it's cool to have Steelbooks. Steelbooks are nice, but you open the Steelbook and there's nothing inside it, okay? So at least they showed it, though. They advertised it. For this, they're not even advertising it. So I don't know. I don't think we're getting a Steelbook for this one. So again, point being why I wanted to do this in the first place, this video, it's just getting worse. You know, you either have collector's editions that try too hard, and by try too hard, I mean try too hard to take your money. They charge too much, and they're just they're not worth it. There are cool things in a lot of collector's editions. I mean, I'm a statue guy. I love getting statues. I have like a General Grievous figure that took me 5 hours to build. I have like a Blue Eyes White Dragon, all off on like the distance of my setup here. I like these things. I like collecting them. I actually want to get into it more. And then you realize, by the way, when you get into that world, that, oh my God, these things are like $800. These things, there's some Final Fantasy figures that are like $1,500. It's nuts. So you either have that side of things where things are just, with collector's editions, things are just too expensive, right? For what they're really offering, are these things really worth it? And then you have the other side of things, and I will say, and I think I said it for this is appropriately priced. Like, there is not, I mean, you're not getting too much, but you are getting an okay amount. And for the price, I think $230, that I feel like sits on the low end of collector's editions nowadays. I feel like most collector's editions are $250, $350, right? And then sometimes I think Hogwarts might have been $4, which was insane, or maybe it was $350. I don't want to just make stuff up, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I remember Hogwarts was like terribly priced, absolutely terrible. But you either have things that are too expensive and it's not really worth the quality of it, or then I guess you have like an appropriately priced one. Like, I think a lot of people, more people, would buy it, not that many, but some would buy a collector's edition for $230. But then, you know, you have the issue of just what it continues to short us. I guess point being, we're continuing, at least in the physical game realm, we're continuing to get less and less and less. And now we're not even getting the freaking Steelbook that the game used to come in. Now it doesn't come in it. And now you're not even getting the Steelbook in the first place. So not ideal. Not ideal. Honestly, as I just said, I mean, if a game is so freaking special, I mean, even the most special games of all time to me now, I don't get the collectors. I don't, like, Plague Tale was a very special game to me a few years ago. I don't even know if it had a collector's edition. Alan Wake, like, some of these games, I don't do that. I try to support here and there, like Final Fantasy Rebirth. I actually got that 6-disc CD set that was like $80. I actually did I have that, kind of behind me, so that's cool. But for the most part, I guess maybe, again, hypocrite or whatever, I don't buy too many of them. But at the same time, I don't like to see, for those that do buy, I mean, a friend of mine, Sway, right? I've had him on the channel multiple times. He gets a lot of collector's editions. I want him to have good stuff. Is that so much to ask for? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.